In September 2011, I led a Shark Conservation Society expedition to the Outer Hebrides. The expedition was based on the island of North Uist, where a shore base had been rented and workboats had been chartered. There are places around the UK coastline where conditions appear to be perfect for great white sharks, and the Outer Hebrides is one of them. These remote, rugged and beautiful islands are home to a wonderful variety of marine and land wildlife. The human population of the Hebrides is decreasing, and at the same time animal numbers are increasing as this place is reclaimed by its wild creatures. SCS volunteers had come from all over Britain hoping to achieve the three aims of the expedition. We planned to work in the Sound of Harris, the Minch and around the Monarch Islands. We wanted to gather marine, environmental and meteorological data for comparison with conditions in known great white shark habitats. We also wanted to photograph scarring on seals to see if bite marks could be identified, and to chum for sharks and record as many species as possible. The aim of the expedition was not to find a great white shark, but there's no doubt this hope was in the back of everyone's mind. As we went to sea on the first day, there was an almost tangible feeling of excitement among all of us. Our survey sites had been selected based on local advice, positions of seal colonies and previous shark sightings. We mashed up mackerel frames for chum, and they proved effective, producing good oily slicks. 2 shark rods were deployed with balloons as floats and using circle hooks to avoid gut-hooking sharks. A GoPro camera attached to a frame with a baited chum tube bolted to it was lowered to the seabed. This gave us another research dimension, as it would record any animals within camera range, and especially any sharks responding to the chum. We had high hopes for this piece of kit, which was often deployed at different locations from where the boat worked. Our first deployments produced intriguing footage, with various small species being filmed approaching the camera. There was no doubt that any sharks or rays would be captured on film and would be readily identifiable. The skipper called early every morning for a weather discussion. For 2 days he had called about storm conditions which made going to sea impossible. Seeing is believing, so we went to look for ourselves.
My worst nightmare on this trip was going to be leaden grey skies and high winds, and what I've got is leaden grey skies and high winds. We've lost 2 days, and I hope tomorrow we can get back to work. We've only got a 14-day period in which to do the work, and we've been lucky so far. Three good days work, 3 out of 3, but our luck had to break, and it's certainly broken at the moment. In the last 15-16 years, I've investigated nearly 90 claimed encounters with great white sharks. Out of these, 9 remain credible post-investigation, and half of them occurred right here in the Western Isles.
Retired schoolteacher Philip Harding is one of those whose account of a sighting is credible. Philip is a committed and observant naturalist who impressed me with his eye for details when observing wild animals. He has no doubt about what he saw.
2005, Wednesday, 27th of July, beautiful sunny day, great water clarity. I was fishing with a colleague from school and his 2 teenage children were on board. We were fishing for pollock, trolling for pollock, just the length of the shore, about 2 miles south of Loch Eport. I just cut the engine to set up a jigging rod for mackerel, standing at the stand looking out, and I saw a large fish come up almost vertically, probably 50-60 feet of water. Showed me his whole white belly, levelled off, came in very tight at the stand. I, for a split second, thought we had an orca beside us. The dark top and the white belly, the white underneath, but particularly the bulk at the dorsal fin. But as he came alongside, he lay just very close to the boat, just off the boat. I could see that it wasn't an orca. Mouth closed, no doubt in my mind, a great white shark.
Many of the claimed great white sightings I have investigated turn out to be basking sharks. Philip is not an experienced shark observer, so was his sighting a misidentification?
I'm sure it wasn't a basking shark. I'm positive it wasn't a basking shark because I'm very familiar with basking sharks. The anatomy is totally different. I went out, in fact, just to put my own mind at ease the following day to see a dead basking shark. But I've been interested in sharks all my life, and I know a great white when I see it. When you witness something like that, you feel a little bit isolated. It took me a little bit of research to find out, in fact, more that this perhaps wasn't an isolated incident. But just 3 days ago, it came to my ears, and it's a reminder that this shark expedition is raising the awareness in people's minds. A fisherman from Cowes Flodder corroborated my story by telling his brother that he had seen a great white at the same time, at the same location, at the back of Airwell. So I'm really very pleased by that piece of information.
Donald MacDonald's brother recently passed away. However, Donald clearly remembers his description of the shark, which corroborates Philip Harding's story.
Well, when I'd heard what Philip Harding had seen out of the back of Rona and Airwell, it reminded me of what my brother had told me about what he'd seen in the same area as well. And he was going down to the Sound of Harris one day from Benbecula. There was a slight chop from the northeast, just 3 or 4 breeze, force 3 or 4, and he was making his way down towards the Sound of Harris, and he was bailing his boat. And when you bail a boat, there's a sleek that comes out of the pump as you go along, as you do it. And suddenly he looked behind him and he saw this shark coming up behind him. And he was quite adamant. He was quite clear that it was unlike a basking shark or anything else he'd seen before. And just as it was going under, he just thought to himself it was a great white shark. And he just dived underneath the boat, and he didn't see it again after that. That was the only sighting he made of it.
The Monarch Islands and the surrounding area is home to one of Northern Europe's largest seal population, and the pupping season had begun. Where there is prey, there should be predators. Great whites have a question mark against them, but makos, porbeagles, blue sharks, Greenland sharks, orcas and others have all been recorded in these waters. The Monarch Islands should have been our main work area, but so far, weather had stopped us getting there, and the forecast didn't offer much hope.
This is just so frustrating. Just over there are the Monarch Islands. I almost feel I can reach out and touch them. But in the way, there's a whole lot of boiling white water and a force 8 gale. And the 2-hour steam from where our boat is based to there would just be an impossibility. Shark research, when it works, it's fantastic. But when you're stuck ashore, wishing you were there, it's a real pain in the neck.
A few more days of enforced shore time and we were back at sea, but with only 3 days left. The weather still wouldn't let us get out to the Monarch Islands, so we chummed for sharks and collected our data in the Minch and the Sound of Harris. These sites were on our list, but they were all we achieved, while our main work area, the Monarch Islands, remained tantalizingly close, but stayed beyond our reach. We weren't catching sharks of any species, and weren't seeing them in our chum slick. We hoped that our seabed camera with its bait tube might have attracted shark visitors, but sadly the footage was as devoid of sharks as our surface observation. Even frustrated fast-forwarding through the hours of footage didn't produce anything. We hadn't come specifically looking for great whites. We hoped to find various predatory species and gather environmental data for comparison with known great white shark habitats. The British weather sabotaged our plans. A year later, the great white puzzle came back to haunt me when a partly fossilised great white tooth was discovered by a lobster potter working off the mainland opposite to where we had been. So we know they were here. The puzzle is whether they still visit our shores.